that I paid him £350 in advance for two 20-minute spots of the Rolling Stones. And on that night only Mick Jagger and Brian Jones turned up. And promised me, Mick. He drank a bottle of whiskey, him and Brian, smoked a couple of doobies in my office, you know. And he took my hand and he looked me in the eyes and said, Clive, I promise I'll be back. So it's ingrained, Mick, you're still waiting. And not only that, you know, we can, if you come pretty soon, we can stop them building the Belamonte Dam. If you could come and either money from the show I could do with you, we can get enough propaganda and strength to stop it. So, the sooner this film goes out, and I hope for Mick Jagger or somebody will see it. Bianca Jagger, I've been in touch with her. She said she'd talk to him. I've talked to Mick Jagger's father. I went to the house to meet him, and I went with Peter Gabriel and Georgie Benson. And his father said he'd tell Mick to do it, but Mick hasn't done it. I mean, what's it all about? I mean, he's got a son in Brazil, in Rio, and I've got a son in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, and they're both in the same business, which is modelling, fashion and making things.
Girlfriend died recently, didn't she?
Eh?
Jagger's girlfriend died recently.
She did. She did. So I made the, that's it. What, any more questions?
5 minutes. Well, getting back to Mersey Bees.
Don't you want to ask me about, for instance, maybe
How about when you were doing the film?
Rod Stewart?
Yeah, Rod Stewart and Elton John.
Yeah. Elton played with me when he was with a band. Not very well known, it was in the beginning. Paul Varley, who also played with me a lot. Paul started when he was 40, working with me, and so did Keith Hartley, who became the Indian, the half-breed, who I got playing with the Beatles, yeah, and Ringo Starr. They're all kids with me, you know. But Keith Hartley, I was the first one we shaved his eyebrows off to give him an image, and he learned to play the drums in the Catacombs Club with me at night after everybody had gone on Des O'Reilly's from the band The Puppets on his drum kit. Des is in Australia now. But Paul Varley then went on to become the Arrows, and kept in touch with me because I, being Indian, sort of promoter, Arrows is part of the Indian culture. You fire your arrows, that's where he got the name from, that's where it came from me. And Elton, and I'd sent a message with Paul for us to go to his house for a barbecue, and I had to go off somewhere and we didn't go. And then the second time I got a message again with Stephen Crotty. He now is Keith Richards' sheriff. You'll see it in his book, this book that Keith Richards has just written. Have a look in the glossary at the back. His housekeeper, Stephen Crotty, started with me also when he was 14, and he was my apprentice, and so was Paul Varley. And Paul was with a band, and he learnt to play drums with me at night on Des O'Reilly's drum kit, just like Keith Hartley did. And then Paul and I, when I went to London, Paul also came, right? And that's when he went to live with Bon Jovi, not Bon Jovi, the other one. The top John Bonham.
John Bonham.
That's it, John Bonham. He ended up being John Bonham's wife's girlfriend when John Bonham had the accident. And then he went into... Paul was the only one that used to come to my flat and just take his clothes off as well, because my flat in London became a nudist flat as well. They were just in the summer, we didn't wear clothes.
Right, so because it was...
Just because we didn't. It's silly to if it's hot. Why wear them? Especially on the 5th floor in Shaftesbury Avenue. It was really hot in the summer. And I'd already got into no using clothes from the festivals I used to work at. The Fun City with the fairies, with Hawkwind, who later became... No, it was Pink Fairies. And that's the first time I did it with the Pink Fairies. And then they became Hawkwind and did the soundtrack for my first produced film called Indians, a 90-minute documentary about the Shingo Indians of the Amazon. Hawkwind did the soundtrack, it's great. And then Lenny, and I did a few boozes in Camden Town at Dingles. And then he went off and set up the Motorhead. And since then I've seen Nicky Cribbins, whose Nick Unlimited band is called. He's been here a few times. And I've got his photograph on my Facebook page wearing one of my Indian headdresses.
Alright.
And when you're up to it, I want a photograph of you wearing an Indian headdress.
Sure.
Whenever you're ready. If you're ready today, I'll go and get them.
Okay.
Should I go and get them now? Or
Yeah.
should we wait until...
They'll wait till tape runs out.
Right, that's fine. And so you've got Nick Cribbins, you've got so Paul Varley. Paul went off and made the arrows. And recently, not just last year, no, a couple, 3 years ago, 5 years ago now, he came to my flat and he was dying. My girlfriend, who was then Anna Jabinska, she's Miss Playgirl March 1973, very sexy girl. You can check her out, just go Playgirl March 1973 and you'll see Anna. Anna was her name then, she's now called Zanulka. She's a film star, she writes books, mainly on flower Zen arrangements and that sort of thing. And she was a good friend of Paul's, so, because Paul was always living with us, wasn't he, in our flat. And he then went off to the States, had his own TV show. Alan Merrill and him, the Arrows, had their own TV show, okay, and they would start other groups. So he was like the top man in the States, was Paul, you know, because they were the ones that put the other groups on and started them off.
Yeah.
And then suddenly he wouldn't have a go sexually with some promoter, and I won't give the name, because I promised I wouldn't, and I won't. And they just said, that's it, you finished on TV. Just the same as PJ Prober when he split his pants.
Just all of a sudden.
They had the same power. And Paul didn't get no more bookings. Alan Merrill's still going on his own. You see him on my Facebook every day. Alan, right? He's still big in New York. But Paul was, and even Alan couldn't do any more shows then. So consequently got into crack.